I had had enough.
Well, you drove out there into the middle of nowhere and had some sort of loud verbal display challenging ET in general out in the middle of nowhere?
That's what I was doing. I actually had a pistol in my hand at the time. I was really ticked off. When I was having this fit, I was waving the gun in the air, okay, and I had this fit. And at this moment, I said, okay.
He was a Louisiana man named Montaldo. Folks around called him Six Gun Joe. Worked with ICAR, don't you know? Investigating UFOs. Out for a drive with a gal one night, they stopped to check out the reporting site. When an alien lit right there on the ground, he commenced to throwing his weight around. Now, old Six Gun didn't take too kindly to that kind of thing, especially without Vaseline or anything like that, you know. Seriously. Well, Six Gun looked that critter right in the eye and said, "Any last wish before you die?" Yo, reached for his gun, quick as a twitch, and said, "Fill your claw, you son of a bitch." Now a legend spread across the land about this pistol-waving man. But if you're from space or from Earth below, you don't give no lip to Six Gun Joe.
Looking for stories that are fresh and new? Dark fantasy, humor, space exploration, time travel, cyberpunk, alternate history, and more. They're in the L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future anthology, from 24 award-winning authors and illustrators, plus art and writing tips and bonus stories. L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future. Buy your copy at galaxypress.com, Amazon, or wherever books are sold.
Looking for something new in dark fantasy, humor, space exploration, time travel, alternative history? They're in the L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future anthology. Get the 10-volume box set with 159 stories and full-color illustrations, plus 34 articles with writings and art tips. Get the UPRN discount, $125 for the entire box set. That's a $60 savings for that beautiful box set. L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future. Go to uprntalkradio.com, click on the link, and place your order.
You're listening to UFO Undercover with your host, Joe Montaldo, right here on the Paranormal Radio Network. Welcome to UFO Undercover with your host, Joe Montaldo.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another episode of UFO Undercover. Hope everyone's having a great morning, great afternoon, great evening, wherever you are in our big, blue, beautiful planet. Sorry. Got a little tongue twisted on that last one there. And you'd think I'd have been saying this for 25 years, I wouldn't get tongue twisted. But anyway, welcome to the show. Sean, Patrick Hazlett's going to be with us tonight, I think. I know I had confirmed it with Carmen earlier today, so he'll probably come popping in a little while. If not, I'll send him a invite again. Sorry, guys, I just got out the shower and this damn thing don't want to stick in. So I hope everyone's been really, it's a crazy world right now. People are pissed about everything right now. We're in the holidays, no less. And I see people are desperate to have a good holiday. I find it interesting, but they really are desperate to have a good holiday. I mean, anything they can. A friend of mine the other day said he can't believe I ain't got my Christmas lights up there. I got to go fix them. Actually, most of them up around the house right now. But you know how it is. You gotta get that festive spirit going. But 1 second here, I'm gonna bring our guest in just a second before I throw this earbud out the window and crash it up into something. Hey, Sean, welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well.
Guys,
How you doing?
Patrick Hazlett. Well, I should give you at least a proper introduction. Guys, he was just with us Saturday. So I know we got a much smaller audience on Saturday, but Sean Patrick Hazlett, he's an author, one of the winners of Writers of the Future. Actually, won some other stuff. Got quite a few books out right now, which we might talk a little bit about because it's going to be some of the topic matter we're going to be talking about later in the show. Sean, what the hell, man? What you been doing for like 6 months? I haven't seen you, man. All right, 6 days.
6 months. It's been like a week.
I was gonna say 6 days, man. Oh shit, it's been crazy, but you know the show did good. I didn't get a chance to send you. I think it was 148,000 people tuned in. So,
oh wow, that's pretty good. We can beat that tonight, though.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. Well, I was gonna say for a rookie show, you know, it's second show. I'm actually surprised it did that much. I'm not gonna lie. I was talking with John Goodwin about it the other day, actually in Carmen too. I was like, usually we start a new show. If it's not been advertised, you're going to see like 500 people and be happy that you got that 500 people.
Really? That's normal?
Well, that is for a brand new show with no advertisement. Not so much on this network because I don't know if we've actually got any spots that are only 500. But usually, you know, I would say 500 to 2,500. I always tell people the same thing when they're new on the network and they haven't done radio, and I'll say, you know, look, don't unless it's in other words. So if you took somebody else's slot, that's a different story. So that's what we did. That's what we did this past Saturday. We were in the Gray Zone slot. Gray Zone usually does about 3.4 million listeners when it's airing. And what's funny about this show is it can be off for 9 months, and we put one show up, it does 3 million listeners. And it'll do at least 1 million archives every time. It's mainly because it's Michelle and I doing the show, and both of us have our own following. So it makes it a little easier. But usually I tell, you know, people 2,500, 3,000. I said, now if you do it correctly, and they sent me a promo that went on to all the other shows ahead of time, and they maybe stopped by and visited some of the other shows just 5 or 10 or 15 minutes, then that audience might be greatly improved. Because then people see it. You can already tell, like this Saturday, the audience will be bigger because it will have had three weeks of advertising on news on the flip side. So it'll be much bigger. We're going to be, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about the author's Quill, by the way. It's on Saturday, 3 to 5. You might as well plug it now since you know what the hell we're actually talking about. But no, Sean was a guest. We had a lot of fun. No, I had Sean zombied out, man. I put the zombie on. Ooh, the zombie. Whoever wrote me that, you know, that was kind of funny, but kind of stupid at the same time. so some girl wrote to me and said, Joe, you put the hypnotic voice on him. He was like, I was like, no, he wasn't.
The hypnotic voice? I have a hypnotic voice?
No, don't ask. We're not even going to go with some of these comments that come in.
That could be good or bad, man.
That could be good or bad.
Yeah.
So I get in trouble sometimes when I'll do radio sometimes, and when I first started doing it, I use this monotone voice, and it's just like whoa, and it goes on and on and on, and I can do it without even taking a break. And I'm telling you what, you either leave or you're like, it's one or the other. You're either zombied out listening or you leave. There's no in between on this. It's a really strange thing. A psychologist friend told me, he said, you know, you got a couple of voices I hear you use. He said, why don't you use this one for radio? And I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah. He said, and you should use it for your customers. I said, well, I'll use it for my customers, but because I've learned that non-offensive voices and tones relax people, and you can get away with so much more. I've said things in that nice monotone voice that if I said in a high pitch, I'd have people just writing to, what the hell was that? I don't know, man. I don't know. But anyway, Sean, so what you been doing all week? Beating kids or something? Slapping an old lady around? Something fun like that? I bet she's a lady.
You know, the usual. Yeah. But
see, I live in a state where that's allowed. You know that, right? On Sunday,
you can't do anything in my state except submit. That's about all you can do.
Well, that's because you're out in California. But see, in Louisiana, you can get a 4-inch strap and beat your wife 4 times on every Sunday. It's a blue law. It's actually still in the books. That was the first time I read this. I'm like, baby, she's baby, her ass.
Is that still like because it's Louisiana, right? It's French.
Yeah,
so
it's Louisiana.
Like
it's French.
Code.
It's Napoleon. We call it blue laws, but yeah, it's what it is. It's a Napoleonic law. It's not the only one either. There's a bunch of stupid ones that they left on the books for some reason. I have no idea why they left them there. And there's like of course, nobody's beating their wife on Sunday, but still, there's no real push to get them taken off the thing. So people just leave them there. And there's a lot of goofy laws. I remember one time the guy said, it's against the law to buy liquor in the French Quarter on Sundays. I'm like, really? Because it's been like that for 300 years. I said, this is a law that doesn't get enforced. But in Mississippi, it's different. There are places in this state on Sunday, there is no liquor sales. And until the casinos came, it was much stricter than it is now. See, because casinos, you can drink whatever you want 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They don't care. And it's free, which is even better. But
well, yeah, because you're going to make, smarter gambling decisions the more inebriated you are, right?
I hate to say this, much luckier when I'm loaded. Because now I don't really gamble that much because I'm got other things. We like to go and have dinner and stuff. They got really good food at the casino. It's got really good entertainment too. But ever since Katrina, them bitches don't pay anymore. Before Katrina, my wife was up easy, almost $100,000, and it took me 10 years to get into casino. I made her go eat at it's called Bananas Buffet. I said, let's go to buffet, baby. You're gonna like the buffet. She got in there, really liked the buffet. So we're walking out, and I was dropping a couple of coins, like 75 cents, whatever the max was, going out the door. And I wasn't hitting it. She said, well, just let me try. And she put in, bam, $7,500. Just bam. So she said, all right, we can go try one more time. She walks in casino. We ain't in 15 minutes. Bam, she wins a car. I'm like, you shitting me, woman? So I mean, she'd have her bad spots, but she was always she was just lucky. I don't even know how to say. I mean, if there's really luck there, she's one of them. But after Katrina, it seems like everything got much tighter. It's a lot harder. You don't see near as many winners.
It's lowered the odds. It's just math.
Yes, it is, and they did mainly because they all lost a lot of money. For the storms, they were down for even with insurance, they still lost money, and then they also had established themselves. So they said, oh, we got these people hooked. They're going to come back anyway. Little do they know, not all of us come back, but they do have good food, and they do. Aliens like to visit from time to time. So that's why we're talking about this subject, guys, because y'all didn't know aliens visit casinos. Didn't I? Bet y'all didn't know that. So the guy called Charles Hall. You can go look his books up. He's got 3 of them, hospitality books. I forgot the names of them. It's been a while since I talked to him, but you go look him up. So they're called Tall Whites, and so he's telling me this story. Very first time, you're going to love this, Sean. So you might write a book about this. So he's telling me about this story. He goes, Joe, I was stationed out at Area 53, and we're not going to get into all the detail, but he was stationed. He was a weatherman. That's what he was. So he's out there doing his meteorology stuff every day, la, la, la. And one day he's out there, and these children approached him. Well, not human children, but and the parents are, from what I understand, are very protective. Which, I mean, they're on Earth and a foreign planet with a bunch of crazy ass people running around, so they're very protective of them. So, but they're there a lot, so they started getting bored, and they asked Charles if there was entertainment nearby, and of course they told him, well, they got the casinos. So apparently, the Secret Service came in, dressed them all up, put hats on them and glasses and all sorts of other clothes, chauffeured them up in a limousine, walked them in these long black coats, and let them gamble on several occasions. Well, it's the first time I heard this story. I'm like, this is so full of shit. But the guy, from doing voice stress analysis and body language, facial recognition, he believed everything he was telling me. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of fascinating that I was like, what made him make this fantasy? So I was talking to his wife one afternoon when she called to book him another time, and her and I got to talk. She said, I don't think, she said, I thought the same thing, Joshi, but I'm wondering now. So I'm reading through book 2, and he's getting more in detail. And out of the blue, a taxi cab driver calls me with his friend who actually chauffeured these guys around in one of these big limos from casino to casino. And I'm like, well, that's kind of, strange. Got 2 witnesses, but still they're taxi drivers, and they might just be looking for the fame, call into a radio show, get on there, have some fun. But anyway, so I get him on, we're talking. While we're talking, and this is when I used to host Wake Up USA UFO Study on a different network. It was 1690 Riverside, Iowa, where Captain Kirk was born. That's how I can remember. And but anyway, this guy calls in while we're on the show, and he's a state trooper. Him and 2 other troopers were willing to give testimony that they had seen these things in these 2 casinos while they were there working on patrol. I was like, okay. All together, to make a long story short, we got about 14 witnesses now that work in Las Vegas who have said they have seen these from time to time. Now, Sean, does that make them real? Or does that just make they blowing some stuff in the casino air conditioners? I'm not. I don't want to say they're not real because but it just seems such like a crazy ass story.
Yeah, I'm a little familiar with the Charles Hall story and the story, and you can correct me because you interviewed him directly. But yeah, my understanding is the Air Force chain of command basically said, "Hey, you're going to be you're going to be at this weather station alone, and by the way, you're going to see these aliens. They have a base here. You can tell anybody you want about them. Just don't just make sure that you stay away from the children because they'll kill you.
Yeah, they'll kill you,
and because they're very protective of the children. And that's about it. Good luck." And it just doesn't make every military organization I've ever been associated with does not operate that way.
And it gets worse because according to them and two Air Force liaisons said that they had come to Charles and said, "You are now going to be their official liaison between the aliens and the Air Force." Now this guy was in Vietnam, and he's a nice guy. I mean, he really, really is a nice guy. But there's something with this story that just, I don't know what, from day one, there was something about it that just didn't click. I don't, I've investigated a lot of stories. I mean, the organization's got over 100,000 cases on file. So, but there was something about this. I kept going, what is it, Joe? There's just something. Is this a planted memory? Is this something they were using? Was this something the military decided they were going to try in this particular guy? I mean, after all, he's out in the middle of the desert by himself. So if you want to try some kind of drug or sound wave or some other
MK Ultra. When was he there? Was he in the 60s?
I'd have to go look for sure, but I'm thinking late 60s, early 70s. He was there for a little while.
I think MK Ultra, those experiments were started in 1953, and I think they kept it up until around the Church Commission in 75. So it's possible.
Well, it is, but then we got the witnesses. So some of the witnesses you can just push away, okay, like the taxi cab drivers, and there was even a couple of dealers and a craps dealer had said they had seen them. So okay, even though they're nice people and all, I'm going to push them to the side and say, okay, you're just everyday people, and maybe you're not the best witnesses. But 3 state troopers and now a 4th has actually come forward. That's different. These guys pay attention to detail. They know what they're looking, and when they seen something out of sort, they were checking it out. And 2 of them said they were checking it out so bad that they went to walk up, and of course the escort said, "Excuse me," and pushed them away. And the guy said, "I can't tell you if it was CIA, He said, "Well, Homeland didn't exist back then, so it was some assorted alphabet organization that said step back." Okay, so now I've got that, but it still doesn't convince me, and I don't know why. It's just something. Go ahead.
I'm not saying it didn't happen, right? I'm just saying that of all the accounts that I've heard, this one seems to have lower credibility. Number one, have you ever heard of these tall whites anywhere else?
No, just
right.
It's
either Grays or something else, right?
It's just him. It's a what we call an outcast alien set that there's just not enough. And I don't want to say they don't exist because I mean we are on a third arm in a galaxy now. We're way on the edge. Right. Good place if you jump into another galaxy to jump from. Lots of resources. So I'm not going to say it's not true, but there's something about this whole story. And then, there was interaction. And ladies and gentlemen, we're kind of cutting it short, but I mean, there was interaction with the kids. There was interaction. And he used to go in the cave and hang out with them. He'd go places with them. These aliens, and don't take it wrong, but they sounded a lot like us. In a lot of ways, they seemed like they had a lot of the same bad habits that humans had. Which is not giving me hope for the universe if it's true.
Only they were a lot smarter. They were a lot smarter, right?
Yeah, a lot more advanced. Denise, no, they were exchanging technology for protection on our planet. And from what I understand, and I don't take me to the bank on this, there was a ship that came and went every so often Charles witnessed 1 or 2 leaving, but there were some other people that came forward. There are some people in the Air Force that have actually came forward. But the problem is, when I had them checked out, they didn't turn out to be who they said they were. So y'all know people. I've been doing this a long time. I got a lot of friends in the military. I know people, you'd be amazed, some of the people I know, not just in the military and the government, even in places that you should know people. It's just, when I ask sometimes, perfect example is Bob Lazar. So when I had Bob Lazar checked out, I had a friend of mine that worked at Los Alamos. So she had access to all the security and all the computers for all 4 of the major places, and which 2 of them I can't mention because I'll get arrested. But anyway, she ran him, and he did come up in the computer. But it brought him up as a janitor at Los Alamos Labs. And that's where they had him stationed. And then it says in the thing, transfer due to someone dying, Area 51, he was transferred. Now, if you check out his school records, he doesn't have any degrees anywhere. So is the government being that clean and keeping him like that? Or is he just outright lying to us? I got to be honest with you, though. I don't think he's lied about the ship, whether he's a scientist or the janitor. I do believe he saw what he saw. It's just proving who he actually is what it comes down to. It's one of them things. So when you get into this stuff, it just gets weird.
And the deeper you dig on it, the bigger the dispersion and potential outcomes. Are you familiar with the Chris Bledsoe case?
It sounds familiar for some reason, but right now I got so many freaking cases in my head. Wait, why does that sound familiar? Go ahead and tell me about it. It'll probably come to my head when you say so.
All right. So there's a guy in North Carolina. He's in Wilmington, North Carolina. Back in, I don't know how far back it was, but he started having these encounters with red orbs, craft. What kind of lights in the sky? I don't know if they were craft or orbs. And he started, seeing this entity that he called the Lady, right? So if you're familiar with like Marian apparitions in Fatima and Bay and Lourdes,
other places,
kind of, very similar to that. I'm not saying it's a Marian apparition, but it's very similar to that. And then he's at some library and he's giving like a speech about an abduction experiment, or he's kind of relaying an account about one of his abduction experiences. And all of a sudden, I think the crowd starts like heckling him, making fun of him, calling him demonic stuff, stuff like that. Right?
Yeah, ignorant shit.
All of a sudden, he says there's going to be an earthquake on September 26, 2012, or something like that in Baja California. And sure enough, there was. And that got the government's attention. So soon there were members of NASA. There's this guy, Hal Pavenmeyer, something like that. He's since deceased, showed up to his house. Actually, I think that the intelligence community got wind of this through MUFON, because the Mutual UFO Network, because he reported his sighting. And they tried to debunk him. They tried to discredit him on the Discovery Channel. Like they were going to go film his experience. And suddenly the FBI showed up and they put him through this grueling polygraph test where I think he answered, I think it was like 40 questions. He answered like 39, according to the stenographer or whoever the polygrapher correctly. And then one was kind of in dispute.
Yeah, but one's not bad. I mean, you're going to get some that bounce out.
Of course. So then this guy from NASA showed up, spent years trying to debunk the case. And then suddenly they realized that he's getting visions. He's getting predictions of the future, all sorts of crazy stuff. So the DIA shows up, CIA shows up, and they kind of develop a relationship with this guy. And to this day, they're there studying the phenomenon. But what he can do is there are orbs that show up around his house, and he is activated every time they show up. He just knows that they're going to come, and he'll go outside, and anybody who goes down and visits him will see this stuff. But he's had all sorts of, visions. He sees this entity called the Lady. It showed up as kind of a bull. And, he had Crohn's disease that was healed. People go to his house. His dog got cut up pretty bad, and he kind of laid hands on the dog, healed. The dog was healed. There was a child that was dying. One of his friends. So they brought him up, and he saved the child. So there's something going on here. He doesn't necessarily know if they're extraterrestrial, if there's some form of angelic being, or there's just some other entity that we don't quite understand. I mean, I would probably put it in that sort of category.
So early on, and this used to weird us out a lot. So we would be doing research, and a lot of times it would come out to be that what we would refer to as spirit guides were extraterrestrials. And they weren't extraterrestrials in the fact that what you saw was an extraterrestrial. What you saw was your dragon or your Indian or whatever the hell it may have been, your total, but it was actually an extraterrestrial. Come to find out, this seems to go way to hell back. And I'm talking way back. We're talking thousands of years, probably way more than that. So it just seems to be something they use to help us along, move us along. And because people who are gifted, I hate using that word, but people who have gifts, whether it's telepathic or empathic or other abilities, they tend to zoom in on this. To be honest with you, if you don't come from a family with gifts, ET's not even worried about you. They're not even interested. They're like, whatever. You're one of the failures, so what? Move on. It's true though. It's how they look at it. It's not that they hate us or anything. We're that particular sect of our planet, which is about 6.5 billion people, are just not going to go tramping into the future. And neither are their ancestors. Slowly but surely, they'll be stamped out. And I don't mean by killing them. And it may one day come down to it because of the Holocaust dream. But right now, there's just simply making sure this wife or this guy and that woman get together, and they just keep breeding. And if you've ever seen Steven Spielberg did, what was that movie? It was a 10-part series, Taken. Some of the stuff in Taken is very accurate. Some of it's completely bullshit, but some of it is quite like the way the Greys move. There was a lot of stuff. Somebody in there had actually must have been taken at once in their life and really realized it. So they incorporated it into the movie, which was nice. Or they simply just did their research, which is quite possible. It was Steven Spielberg we're talking about. So those kind of things you find in there, but it really is about people's gifts. So whenever they started these abductions, some people say 6,000, some people say 60,000, some people say 2 million. Well, we can argue about how long man's been on the planet. Most people give us 200,000 years. We know that Neanderthal was at least 2 million. So we can give ourselves 2 million years. So they've probably been here that entire time. And what's really weird to me about this is the gray that picked up your great-grandfather 10 times removed is the same gray that's picking you up today. To them, this is just a little short hop. I mean, they have a massive lifespan, so this is just like a little short hop. And it gives them a unique understanding. So if reincarnation's real, then they're watching you reincarnate. They probably are familiar with your soul and watching reincarnate. If it's not real and they're just simply following the family lines, they know stuff about your family that your family has forgotten thousands, hundreds of years ago. They just, and I guess from time to time, they'll just throw a person a bone, I guess you could say, because every now and then one of these contactees will come up with all this information out of nowhere. It's a download. We call them downloads, but they'll just have tons of this information. And it's all accurate. It's just, it was all stuff that had been forgotten or pushed to the wayside. Hey, Anthony, how you doing? Why they do this is anybody's best guess. We talk about a lot of different alien agendas that seem to be floating around, but they do really seem to concentrate on people who are telepathic or empathic. Matter of fact, the organization I'm with, ICOR, doesn't even consider you to be a real contactee or an abductee if you're not empathic. You have to be at least empathic, and you have to pass a test, by the way, guys. Same thing if you're telepathic. We actually have a test. We actually test you to see if you actually have telepathy. I remember the first time we ever used this test. It started out real simple, and this girl was getting the card test right every time. I'm like, what the hell? And so we made it 5 cards. She kept getting it right every time. So a guy said, let's do some paragraphs. She was reading the paragraph word for word, and there was 4 or 5 of us there. It was just freaky weird. Best telepath I've ever met. And she still doesn't work for the government, by the way, which amazes me. Why they haven't picked her up and put her ass to work. She's a doctor, so maybe that's why, and she might be missed. But
Is she a U.S. citizen?
She's a U.S. But originally she wasn't. Originally she came from Africa, and her family moved from Africa to England, and then they moved from England to the United States, and then she went to school in New York, got her nursing degree, couldn't get a job because she didn't have any experience. Finally got some job out in Philly, got some experience. Said screw this, went back to school, became a nurse practitioner. Said screw this, went back to school, became a doctor, went back to school, got her PhD. And it's easy for her. That's the weird part. I mean, it's just, and she's, even today, she'll call me. I said, stop. Why even have a conversation if you already know what I'm going to say? And she will. She'll be, you're just going to say it. I'm like, shut up, stop. I'd like to be involved in this conversation. She's really gifted, and she's a good friend too. But it's just, we find these people from time to time. I remember when when the government decided to drop the remote viewing program and go with a telepathic program. So the government dropped it completely. The Pentagon got out of it, and the White House got out of it. And then the Navy and Air Force came in and took over the telepathic programs. They officially started seeking telepaths in 2000. Last time I talked with Carly, she said there was about 400 working for the Navy and about 250 working for the Air Force. And she said only about half of them are from the U.S. The other ones who have been recruited from other countries, other allied countries, I would imagine, but still other countries. And it's weird. It's just weird. And she said they do a lot of covert work, guys. I can only imagine they're looking at. I'm just wondering the other side if Putin's got a telepath blocking people from getting in his head.
Oh, they definitely have some. I mean, that's why we started the remote viewing program in the first place. Because the Russians were working on all sorts of stuff. They're looking at telekinesis, telepathy, remote viewing, all that stuff.
I win this bet all the time with my friends about telekinesis, and they get so mad at me. It's so telekinesis is really the one we want. Telepathy is great, and if telepathy finally crosses the whole planet, it will make us a more honest planet, because eventually everybody will be able to read everybody's brains, or at least learn how to keep from doing it. But telekinesis is weird. So I have seen one or two demonstrations over the years that I would consider to be true telekinesis, but for some reason, it doesn't seem like something that's really manifested in our population yet. And the way you know is Putin is still alive. Xi Jinping is still alive. Donald Trump is still alive. Hillary Clinton is still alive. If there was any, I'm telling you guys, if there was any telekinesis in this country, we'd have already used it. We'd have killed Putin. We'd have gave him an aneurysm in his brain. Oops. Xi Jinping would have had a heart attack. Kim Jong-un, he'd have just died out of no God for whatever reason. His heart would have exploded or something. And these are all natural causes. You can't prove that these were done any other way. So we haven't quite reached it yet. I'm figuring 100 to 500. It depends. But as we move on to the moon and Mars, it may achieve faster. You don't hear NASA putting internet on the moon. Y'all didn't know that? Billy, you didn't know that? Yeah, man, NASA's putting internet on the moon. And Elon's going to be sending Starlink to Mars so he can put a Starlink net around Mars. So when they get there, they can communicate anywhere they're on a planet. The man is brilliant. He's insane and he's brilliant. He's insane, but he's brilliant. So,
well, what do you think, Joe? What do you think about the UAP amendment, the Schumer-Rounds amendment?
I don't know. I mean, so much of this stuff is just. So much of this feels like. I don't know how to say it. It just feels like appeasement. It doesn't feel like anything real is going to happen. Well, I mean, when you listen to Kurush, whatever his freaking name was,
Grush.
There's no doubt the boy's a plant. There's no doubt he's lying. Why he hasn't been polygraphed is beyond me. See, it was the first thing when I talked to him originally about testimony, I said, well, I want to be polygraphed the entire time. I don't want to be any questions about was Joe telling truth and not telling truth. That should be standard on these. All four of the pilots offered to be polygraphed, and two of them actually ended up being polygraphed. Of course, they were telling the truth. So this is serious stuff we're talking about here. You can't have people going around. So Greer has got a bad habit of when he comes up with a theory and nobody's picking it up, he tries to force it on us. He's had a lot of theories over the years, just most of them just turned out not to be real. Now he's saying dimensional, and then of course this guy's saying that which still cracks me up. When I heard him say this, I'm sitting there going, wait, did you just say that the aliens are coming through the portal and falling out and dying and they're crashing and you're getting their ships and their people and they just keep doing this over and over and over? I'm like, what kind of stupid aliens are these? The aliens I'm familiar with, what they do on our planet, they don't seem to be that stupid. Plus, they've been here for so long. Do you know how many crash UFOs we're talking about here? Thousands. So I'm just floored that they even said that. And then there's this thing about keeping grays, especially. The reptilians, the reptilians ain't gonna let you do it either. The reptilians coming to get their people. The grays are coming to get their people. Unless the gray wants you to have that being or that craft, they're coming to get it. And there ain't a damn thing we've already learned after they shut our nuclear program down. There ain't a damn thing we can do about it. Shit, just recently, what was it, about 6 months ago, they shut down a Russian. So there was an American sub and a Russian sub playing tag out in the Pacific, Wolfpack. Mm-hmm. Our Wolfpack's just tracking and playing. They're just playing on each other like they always do. Both subs give the exact thing. They seen an underwater UFO, or it was moving fast. Both of them thought it was the other guy's weapons. It came screaming by. Of course, both subs went on tactical alert and started loading their tubes. Well, the Russians were ordered to fire. Nothing happened. Of course, nothing launched anywhere. And then everything just went off. But yet still, neither sub sank. All power was off. No way to keep the bilge pumps running. No way to keep ballast running. No way to keep the sub stable. But yet it just stopped where it was at. Didn't move. It was just like it was being held in stasis. Both captains gave identical statements to this. They were both quite freaked out about it. The only reason we heard about it is because the U.S. sub commander, not the captain, but the commander, was actually asked to testify in front of Congress. And he did he testified in the boat or whatever the hell they call it. Skiff. The skiff, yeah. I always call it the canoe. I'm sorry.
The skipper of the boat.
So he had to testify there. But so there's these things that we just, and then of course, when you listen to the guy that Greer brought in, now remember, people, you got to remember this witness we're talking about has never seen a UFO. He's never seen an alien. He's never been in contact with any of these. But yet, because he's a spy, he knows all this information. Rule number one about spies, you never trust a spy. You just never trust them. If your life depends on it, you're in shit in trouble. Rule number two, Dr. Greer was involved. Now, I hate hating on Greer because when he first came out, I thought he was a chit. But the more I found out about him, the more investigating, the more I realized this guy was in this for entirely different reasons than I thought he was in it for. I mean, when he asked me if I wanted to go on the spiritual retreat, I was in DC at the time. Speaking at one of the X conference, actually X Conference 9, he said, "You should come with us, Joe. It's only $12,000 a head." I was like, "What? For what?" He said, "Well, you'll have a spiritual enlightenment with an alien." I said, "I don't need $12,000 to have an enlightenment with an alien. I'm sorry, Dr. Greer." And then a couple of hosts I know called to ask him to be on different radio shows, decent sized radio shows. Minimum fee was $5,000. So, and this just
to interview him?
Just to interview him. This just went on and on and on and on. So I just got to the point where I was like, he was a doctor he was one of the doctors at the ER in the New York hospital. So I guess he was used to making X amount of money. And ufology is not the best field for making money. And there's some people that can make it, but not many of them can actually do it. But he can. He actually makes a pretty good living. He's probably taking in about $150,000, $175,000 a year in this field. And you got to ask yourself how and why. He speaks all over the place. He travels all over and he speaks. Most of the time he's talking about interdimensional aliens and spiritual stuff, and which is fine. I mean, I don't really care, but you're not getting to what's going on our country. You're not getting to who's here, why the Mayans, Aztecs, and Incans, revered the reptilians and hated the humans. None of that's coming out. Why the Dogon talked about the reptilians going to Samaria and raping and stealing the women, and the Sumerians talked about it too. And all of this stuff is stuff that has to be achieved because the Sumerians say that they created the subspecies, not us, but the species right before us. They were a slave race. That's why they call it the seven creations of man, and the last species looked just like us, well, almost just like us, but they were subservient. They didn't care. They didn't have a reptilian section in their brain, and they didn't care about anything in life. They just did what they were told, and they procreated, and they ate, and they got up every morning and went and plowed the fields without any question. And if for some reason the reptilians decided, well, the Dogon talk about them in great detail, Sumerians do too, they used to go steal the women, rape them, bring them back pregnant, just like a damn reptilian. And they would have children, and those children turned out to be different. And they turned out to be different in a way that eventually there was a rebellion and Samaria fell. And we all know Samaria fell, so there's no doubt in that. And we all know we have a reptilian section in our brain. So these are stories given to us prior to no one even knowing that you could have a reptilian section in your brain. Dogon knew a lot of things about our bodies that they shouldn't have known. Blood circulation, how it worked. They even knew the timing of it. They actually knew the weight and mass of Sirius A. In case y'all know, Sirius A is huge. Just a spoonful would drop right through the core of our planet. It'd go all the way through the core and out the other side. That's how it dents Sirius A. How can they know? They couldn't even know what Sirius A is. You can't see with the naked eye. None of those stars you can see with the naked eye, and they knew all three of them there. A, B, and C. And they knew the orbit. Their calendar is based on a 55.5 year orbit of Sirius A. Sirius B around Sirius A. The only way you can see it's with a radio telescope, and I think the Dogon don't have one of those. Even today, I don't think they have one of those. It's just, guys, I mean, as you go through these stories and you go through our past, and that's why I always tell people, if you want to get into this field, start in the past and work yourself forward, because there are just things that can't be explained. Doesn't mean it's alien, just things you can't explain. I'm a build a time machine. I'm gonna send Sean back to 6,000 years ago. That would be 4,000 AD, right? Yeah, 4,000 because you go backwards and you go that way. Yeah, BC, right? Because 80 is this one. Yeah, so no, you go back. So you count forward in 80 and you count backwards in BC. Hey, I didn't make the rules, people. Okay, I'm just here like the rest of you. Somebody decided we're going to count down or up, going backwards the other way. Well, there's a lot of history here. It's a lot more than y'all think. And then after we said getting back there, what do you mean you're going to send him cave wives? I don't even think it's 6,000 years towards cave people. I think it goes further back than that. Cave wife. You know he's got a wife, right? She might want to have to manage these cave wives. Let's just get this shit straight now. What's that, Bobby? What you got for us? We can both answer that. I don't necessarily know what he's going to say, but he wants to know who you think the most important person was in the UFO fields to get us to where we are today. That's a hard question. There's a lot of good people you could say.
That is a hard question. Because it could also be who's the person who had the most credible sighting, which is different than the most important person in the UFO field.
That's much different. Yes, that's a much different thing.
I mean, I would think one of the more credible, and this is not the most important person, but one of the most credible UFO accounts is Robert Salas at Malmstrom.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Where they shut off his Minuteman nuclear missiles, right? 10 of them remotely. Yes. Like that's some serious stuff, and they covered that up. They covered that up pretty fast. Now
we found out there were 4, 5, 6 U.S. bases that had been shut down all at the same time, and I forgot how many they said in Russia, but it was either equal or a couple of more in Russia. But they did it in both countries at the exact same time. Well, we didn't find out about Russia for decades because Russia wasn't going to tell anybody. It wasn't until the wall fell and all kind of other stuff went on. Finally, the story got out. But guys, think about this. A UFO comes over, parks, and all of a sudden nothing works. And you're sitting on several tons of TNT for a lack of a better way of saying it, and it's not even going to start. That's serious technology. Think about it. They not only did they cancel out the nuke, but they canceled out everything else around it. So, even if you could have got it to fire, the nuke still wouldn't have went off. No, I forgot what the guys said about the nuke. Something they actually, even after systems came back on, there's a little, I guess it's like a trigger. It's about this big that had to be replaced in all the nukes. They wouldn't have, even if they would have launched, they still wouldn't have detonated. I guess they burnt it out. Actually, it's not supposed to be. I don't know what you call it.
Part of the inertial. I think it was part of the inertial guidance logic system, right? That they disabled. So like they didn't destroy the missiles at all. Like the missiles were, for lack of a better word, undamaged, but they did something that like messed with that circuit, the logic circuits.
Actually,
so they could still,
well, they can still launch. No, Jack, they don't. Our missiles are EMP.
They just couldn't control where they went, right?
No, they couldn't. No, really, our missiles are EMP proof. Yeah, they're not gonna die if an EMP goes off by them now, because mainly they create an EMP. But anyway,
and they were like triple redundancy, connected via wire, 60 feet underground, and whatever these things did, they were still able to. Because I think Boeing did a bunch of bench tests to try to replicate the condition, and the only way they were able to do it was with some sort of impulse into the circuit that would
from inside
set inside. But again, they couldn't do it remotely 60 feet beneath the surface.
Yeah, the Pentagon's conclusion was that the only way this could have happened was if someone was a traitor. But of course, what these guys go through, and girls, to be a missile commander. So it's highly unlikely they're going to break down. I mean, they go through a lot of guys. I can't even tell you the shit they put these people through before they stick them on the ground for 30, 60, and 90 days at a time. They used to do 6 months, but they don't do that anymore now. They said it's too long to have people on the ground. So, they can't do it too often because they don't want to be changing too many people. That's a risky business. No, you can't fight a nuke by yourself. It takes two people, but still.
Yep.
No, it's far enough apart that you can't. Yeah, you wanted to take two people because somebody go crazy. No, you can't reach. So they usually keep them far enough apart that you can't reach both keys at the same time, and you got to turn them at the same time. So no, it doesn't work like that. You mean why? I have no idea why no one's going crazy and launching nukes. Thank God they haven't, though.
Well, they also in the Ukraine and the Soviet Union in October 1982, they did the same thing. Only they turned the missiles on.
Yeah, I've heard that one too. They there's a lot of stuff goes on out there that you don't, unless you're really paying attention, people, you're not going to hear about it. The government keeps a lot of stuff on the down low or the QT because certain things make people nervous. Aliens don't make people nervous. We've been being desensitized for almost 60 years now. Aliens don't really make people nervous, but rogue nuclear weapons do. Or crazy humans actually make people nervous. So an alien can come here, take your family, shut off your nuclear silo, go do whatever it's going to do, and the country doesn't panic. One crazy man would go and trying to launch a nuke would freak everybody out. Oh yeah, it'd freak everybody out. Well, look at the Israeli war; it's freaking people out, and has nothing to really do with us. I mean, as far as dying and killing and blowing shit up, it could if we wanted to, but it's not. No. Well, Johnny, I said this before. So why doesn't the aliens get involved in stopping our wars? Why would they? If honestly, I think if they thought that if they just stopped one war, that would be the end of it, showed themselves. But I don't think they believe that. I think they think that we'll just go to blowing shit up. They'll stop and they'll go blowing something else up. Well, as humans, we like to blow stuff up. No, it's not just Americans like to blow stuff up. I mean, America's not blowing anything up right now. It's Russia's blowing stuff up. Ukraine's blowing stuff up. The Palestinians and Hamas are blowing stuff up. Israel's blowing stuff up. Syria. Not us. For a change, and I say this lightly, for a change, we're not blowing anything up. As Americans, we like to blow shit up. I mean, look at our TVs, guys. I mean, really, we can't deny we don't like to see shit blow up because our TV's full of it. And those shows usually make a lot of money. Yeah. I couldn't give you a single person. I mean, Stanton Friedman did a lot because he was a nuclear physicist. He helped to bring this into a real face. There's been a few other people. Ted Phillips, he's also helped to bring it in. Jim Mars is probably a big one. He really put this into the public eye and helped people to know what this is about. Matter of fact, because of Jim, I met John Goodwin. Because he was doing some work with Writers of the Future, doing some, I think some audio work. And Jim and I were been friends for a long time. We did a lot of shows together. We wreaked a lot of havoc. Let's just say that. when his book came out about the Kennedy assassination. Oh, we had a ball, man. Oh, Jesus, we had a ball. We still getting phone. Every time that one airs, we get phone calls, by the way. I'm not kidding you, man. Every time it airs. People are just
you
like,
probably throw Colonel Corso on that list too.
Yeah,
Lieutenant Colonel Corso.
You could put Corso on that list. There's some stuff. We were talking about Roswell not too long ago, and a friend of mine says, "Why doesn't it get its proper attention?" I said, "Roswell gets a lot of attention." I said, "It's just everybody's dead now." I mean, I had interviewed Junior. It's been a while, but about 5 or 6 years ago, I think I was one of the very last interviews he did. And he lived in Houma, not far from where I was at, about an hour away from where I lived. And the thing of it is Roswell was Roswell. There's a lot of argument on exactly what it was. Was it okay? First, whoever wrote that stupid shit. Okay, no radar knocked the UFO out the sky. Let me explain before I even go any further. You got this thing called space. Y'all ever heard of that? That is just full of radiation. I mean, intense, way more than you could ever get on Earth. Matter of fact, if this radiation even reached Earth, we'd all be dead. Okay. But yet this UFO flies right through it, no problem. But it comes here and we point up, ooh, a little radar dish, and it falls out of the sky. Do you really believe that shit? And then another guy goes, oh, a lightning bolt did. Okay, well, no, they take more. Think about this. They're in space all the time. I'm sure they can take way bigger of a charged particle than that. And the only way I think you could bring down one of those is if it was like a cargo craft or an escape pod. I don't think a true UFO, a true alien craft is going to come down by any technology we possess or even any technology that God possesses on this planet. I don't think it can be brought down with any of that. I just think they're designed for a much, they're crossing interstellar distances in space. I imagine it's much more intense out there than it is here. It's one of the reasons we're not having gone to Mars yet. It's not so long it's going to take us there. We're going to get irradiated along the way. So I don't know, guys. I just sometimes I think you need to use logic when you're looking at some of this stuff, and I don't believe everything here. I will tell you this, so in 1911, the Germans started building flying saucers, or let me rephrase that: building saucers, disc-shaped things. So there's a story that a gentleman was given information by human-type aliens. There was a ship that it was actually a gray saucer that had been recovered with no aliens, just the human aliens had it. They gave it not to Hitler, but to the guy before Hitler. And they started building. Now, you can go from 1911 through 1913. If you go look, they tried designing 7 or 8 different things that are shaped like saucers. They even had a saucer-shaped tank. They had all kind of weird stuff. They even had a jet plane or something that was going to be a jet plane that was saucer shaped. It was just weird. So anyway, long story short, Hitler's people were much smarter. The scientists were much smarter that got their hands on it, and they started using the technologies. Because somebody asked me, well, why would they have given it to Germany? Well, at the turn of that century, Germany was the most advanced country on the planet by far. They were twice as advanced as America was, easily twice as advanced. We had to cheat to catch up. And so knowing that, that's who they would have gave it to. They would have just gave it to the Germans. Were peaceful people at the time. They hadn't started World War I yet, or World War II, so no one really knew. But there had to be some reason why they decided, awesome, I'm this big of a country, but I think I can rule the world. You had to be something that gave you that edge that made you want to do it. And they started passing us up in leaps and bounds in technology. Then we end the war. There actually is documentation of a saucer being brought back from Germany to the United States at the close of the war. And where did it go? To Roswell, New Mexico. That's where it was sent, to the base out there. So more than likely, we had it. Gray's probably said, look, we're going to try to teach you how to fly this damn thing. Because there's something a lot of people don't know. There was 2 crash sites, not one. There was Corona and Roswell. So Roswell was whatever it was, a small craft. Probably was an escape pod where the Grays jumped in it. It hit the escape pod, came down. And escape pod, when it hit the ground, probably just broke up. I doubt escape pods are built like regular craft are. They did find some gray bodies, and one alive, one partially alive, one alive. But more than that, some Cub Scouts walked up on a decent-sized saucer in Corona, in the woods in Corona. There were 4 bodies laying outside the saucer, side by side, and they were kind of a glowing, melty, human skinish color, just kind of They were about the same size as human. It just looked like four humans that had been exposed to high intense kind of radiation. So the kid and the dad made a report, and we never heard from him again, ever. No one knows what happened to him. To this day, no one knows what happened to him. The story's even barely out there, and they just disappeared. Somebody came and picked up the two boys from school, and the dad just never made it home. Nobody knows what happened to him. Yeah. Government came and got him. That's what happened to him. Are they still? I don't know if they're still alive. I would hope so, but I don't want to think so, man. I'm thinking they got terminated, my friend, is what I'm thinking. Well, because it blows the story of just a Roswell crash. It makes it look more like we crashed the damn thing. Well, yeah, when we probably do, what the hell? We don't know how to fly anything. Gray's crafts are organic to start off with, and you have to meld with them to drive them. So I told you, we know a lot these days. Yeah, well, the way we find stuff out like that is we post a question to 200 or 300 contactees. Nobody knows what the question is, and none of the contactees know each other. So when the information all comes back exactly the same, you got something. It's a good way of cheating, but it works. Well, because they don't know each other, no one knows what the question is. So you only know the question when I give it to you, or whoever's running the program gives it to you. And they don't know each other. Jack don't know John. John don't know Melanie. Melanie don't know Chris. No, they don't know each other. These are just random people. Right now we keep about 2,800 contactees that we run these type of experiments with. Just to see what comes up out of them. You'd be surprised, man. You'd be surprised some of the crap you find out that you don't want to find out about. Blue plasma is one of them.
What's the deal with blue plasma?
That's a weird thing, because we kept getting these reports, and they would fill out a report and they would talk about this weird blue color. Like, I got so tired of hearing this weird blue color. So finally I said, I got with the one of the groups one night. So we need to figure out what this blue color is. So we put up a list of questions, narrowed it down to one, sent it to all the contactees, and asked them to just concentrate on this blue, nothing else, and tell us what it is that they're seeing when they see the blue. On the hypnosis, you got some stuff, but not enough. And even though I'm a good hypnosis, I'm still not the most trusting of hypnotherapy. I'm just, and I'm trained at it. Really, I'm actually really good at it. But still, when I do hypnosis, I run voice stress with it, which nobody else, as far as I know, no one else does that but me. And it gives me an advantage, but still, I always feel like if something was tainted, or if there was something put in the person's head, or if we asked the wrong questions that make them think alien, because we're not allowed to use words like extraterrestrials or grays. They have to use those words. We can't. And if once you say it, it's in their head, especially if they're down around hypnosis level 4 or 5. It's there, and it's going to be there forever. So it's just better, ask a date, time, place, and let them tell you the story front and back. Stop it, set up a line of questioning, and go back, put them back on the hypnosis, use those questions, and see what comes out. It works really well. It's just, and we learn a lot. I mean, you learn a lot of stuff. But the blue plasma seemed to be, so we kept hearing about it, and then finally we got the question out, and instantly, I think it was like 60 people came back within 2 days. Oh, they immerse you in it to rejuvenate you. So the one girl said I was freaking out because the alien was pushing me down in. I thought I was going to suffocate. And once I was under it, because she was holding her breath, she said I started breathing. I realized I could breathe. And she said it just felt like this weird, tingly, sparkly thing going all around you, in and out of your body. And then a bunch of other people described it. And they all say the same thing. When you come out of it, you feel rejuvenated. You feel good. And a couple of people who were sick that came out of it were no longer sick with some pretty rough diseases. We got 2 contactees, and both are in California. I remember these ladies. I'm still good friends with them. I remember when the first one contacted me, she was in stage 4 cancer, had 6 months. And then when Janine contacted me, she was in stage 4 cancer, had about 5 months. And they were just wanting to dump everything they knew in their heads to me. Just here, look, this is what we've learned. We know this. I don't know how true it is, but I'm just going to dump it. And I remember I was sound asleep. My phone was just ringing nonstop. In old days, when you still had the damn hard phone sitting next to your bed. And it wouldn't stop. So finally, I just picked it up and I snapped. I was like, what the bleep do you want? And she tells me who it is. I'm like, what's up, baby? I said, you feeling bad? She said, no, I'm feeling great. She said, the last 2 days I felt fabulous. So I went to the doctor today. I'm like, what? She said, I have no cancer. And she said, not only do I have no cancer, but all the damage it caused is gone. So she actually had her doctor send me over the paperwork before and after. So not even 5 hours later, Janine calls with the exact same thing. Both of them had seen each other on the ship 2 days earlier. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, stuff like, and when you have the before and afters, it's hard to deny it. Somebody said, well, it's bullshit. No, I said, no, they was stage 4. You can see all the work for yourself. You can even see the cancer growing at a fast rate. It was one of them had non-small something or another. It was really bad. And I was just gone. And even the doctors was amazed. It was no damage, no nothing. I don't know, Chris, they don't do it to everybody. I don't know why they were special and other people aren't. I wish I could tell you. It's but I have heard about people being healed more than once. And if you go back and get into the ancient world, you'll find out that the Mayans, Aztecs, the Incans, the Egyptians, the Sumerians, the Dogon, a bunch of these races will talk about these creatures that look like a gray or look like a reptilian that would come in and save people. Actually, they talked about, I'm not even sure that some of the grays weren't pharaohs. You know, pharaohs, or not the grays, the humans. If you noticed, some of the pharaohs have the disease where your head's like, instead of being round like this, it's long like this. Well, that's how the heads are on the human aliens. When you look at them front on, they look just like us. If you look at them on the side, their head goes back another foot longer than ours do. And there were several pharaohs that had this disease that made them look like that. And it's worse than that. If you look at some of the pictures of the pharaoh's face head on, they don't quite look like us. Mm-hmm. And it's not just there. There's some and don't forget, the Nazcans used to board their children's head to look like that. That's what their gods look like. There's lots of evidence that we've been being visited for a long time. It's just, the real question is why? Why do you want to come see Sean? He's kind of ugly. I don't know, man. I'm just saying. Say, what the hell, dude? You know, what the, well, no, I mean, really, I don't know. If I did, I'd be a freaking millionaire. Or I'd be dead, one or the other. If I told Sean everything I knew right there, they'd just come to his house and shoot him. No, it wouldn't even be blatant. It'd just be pop. Sorry, dude. You shouldn't have listened to Joe. Y'all think I'm kidding. Y'all think I'm kidding. I'm not.
Yeah, just don't tell everybody on the radio.
I know. I remember we was talking one night, and I get a phone call during the show. It's a sanction report. You have crossed your boundary on my classification. I was like, really? So I got a class 10. How can I cross the boundary? I mean, it's like not even higher than that. I'm like, what the hell? And then I get this other thing. It's like some weird voice, like, you, and then it tells me what I did. And I was like, so I said back in my own weird voice, what are you talking about? This has been out for 50 years. They did not like that, by the way. Yeah, I mean, it's part of it, you know. You're going to get, I mean, if you ever get really, the more serious you get into this, Sean, the more likely you're going to get harassed by somebody. I mean,
it just means you're over target, right?
Yeah, that means you're doing. Anytime they come in, I figure if they take the time to bother or threaten my life, oh, I got something good. Or actually, they don't usually threaten my life. They usually threaten my kids and my wives. When my mom was alive, they like to threaten her. You know, we'll just kill your mom when she's driving from Atlanta. I'm like, oh, well, damn, people. I said, you better hope you don't get closer because she does carry a gun. I used to tell her all the time. And I said, she's just going to shoot you. She's never going to ask questions. She used to be married to a state trooper. So she's just going to shoot and ask questions later. I said, be warned.
What do these guys just text you or call you? Or
they show up. They'll show up at a job site. They'll show up. They just, we've had them show up in person more than a dozen times. Usually, if like tonight, if we were talking about something they really didn't like, we just get booted. Today's they just boot you off, and they'll keep you off until time's up, and then they'll let you back in. It's and then you call StreamYard or whatever company you're working with. There was nothing wrong with the service. Everybody else wasn't having a problem. I don't know why you were. Mm-hmm. Call the internet company. Nothing wrong with your internet. You know, and they don't just boot like me and you. They boot everybody. I don't know how they do it, but they boot everybody. Everybody who's on the net, they must have some kind of worm they send out, just boots everybody. And you get booted enough times. Alfred Webb will tell you, we were doing a show on the alien agenda, and we got booted so many times. We were just watching our audience tick down because 15 minutes in, boot. But every 12 minutes, they boot us the entire show. Even my producer was disgusted. He was cussing at the end of the show. It was like, And then we've had them break in on live shows and just start talking to us. How you doing? Hey, can I ask you a question? I'm like, well, I guess you done broken in the show. Yeah, go ahead. And we've been told, we've gotten letters. We've been told by them. We've been told by other people. Well, we like to talk to you. You got a lot of information. I'm like, well, that's real sweet. I said, you could pay me for that information, right? No, I guess not. But they're just, and if it was just me, I'd say, okay, I'm just losing my mind. But it happens to a lot of people. And what I don't understand is they got to know when they piss you off, you're just going to look more.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
I'm sure they got some that just say no, but all the rest of us are going to look more. What was that? Marky. Hold on. Mark. Okay. We're in the chat room. Y'all can come in the chat room. I think y'all just scared to come in the chat room and Sean. I think y'all just like this messenger. Y'all can hide out and say stupid shit. And nobody can see it but me. No, really. Well, anyway, what was your question? I'm sorry. I'm just picking on. What was your question? And remember, guys, location now. Name and location. Oh, you're calling from hell? Or your Steph wife is letting you use the phone tonight? Is that what's going on? Okay. Anyway, which question I asked? New York. What part of New York? Buffalo. Oh, well, I feel for you, my friend. What you got for me, Sean and I? Most powerful extraterrestrial. What do you mean? Oh, you mean what is the most? What do you think, Sean? Who do you think is the most powerful extraterrestrial? That's a hard. That's like a loaded question, man. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's like it depends on what's real, what's not real, what's out there. It depends on what you believe. I mean, that's I wouldn't even know how to.
But it's a tough one.
That question. Yeah.
What do you mean? Okay. First off, I don't know the name of the extraterrestrial in Scientology. No, I don't. It's not something I ask about. It's not even something I'm interested about. No, I know I'm interested in aliens, but I figured if they wanted me to know, they would tell me. Well, I know quite a few of them, so I figured if they wanted me to know, they would tell me. But the one you're talking about was the one that was in 50s, 55s, so in that area. He was big, tall, one-eyed, kind of bent back legs. No, he looked really fierce and really scary, but he actually saved humans from other extraterrestrials. Yes. I can't, his name began with a K, Coover. I can't remember. It's been so long, but that's what he did. Yes. And there was quite a few reports of him, over 100. He'd just show up when an abduction was going on and he would take the humans away from the aliens. I guess since he quit showing up, the Greys got pissed and killed his ass. The reptilians might hate him. I don't know. I can't. That's the last report I actually remember reading about was somewhere in the mid 60s. I remember they started somewhere in the early 50s, and I think they ran about 12 years. You would have to look up. I don't know how you'd look it up. Cyclops alien, maybe. Well, he had legs like almost hooven legs because they would come up to the knee and then they would bend back like a horse's leg almost, but they didn't really look like that. And then he was built kind of normal, except he was way bigger than us, had way bigger hands. No, I think they said he was like 10 foot or 12 foot tall. He was big, whatever he was. Yeah, he'd just pop out of nowhere like he had a transporter and don't ask me. But see, that's the problem. ICAR's got a rule. We need X amount of cases to consider an alien to be in the group that we consider are probably real. Well, right. I say probably real because until I got one in my hand, I got to use that word. Oh, I think they're 100% real, but doing it legit way, I have to say probably. There are 5 types that we investigate on a regular basis. There are a bunch of little fringe stuff that pop out here, this, that one, and the other one. That could be real, could not be real. You got to remember, Greys especially like to screw with people. Reptilians do too. Humans do too. I mean, they'll just put something in your head and you'll be, especially if you're acting like an ass or being stupid. Yeah, they'll pop something in your head, freak you out real good. What would you do if could you imagine having to put up with us whiny, bitchy humans all the time? I mean, really, I give people trouble because a friend of mine was saying something about Jesus. I said, Jesus done got tired of hearing you. He done turned his little thing off. He's on vacation somewhere, probably out in Alpha Centauri somewhere. I said, I got to get away from these humans for a while.
Yeah, just put him on mute.
That's right. I'm being serious, man. Come on. 2,000 years y'all want, I would have done left the galaxy. I'm just telling you, I would have left y'all. No, I'm going to kill you because you're my dad's creation, but I'd have left. I'd have been, I'm out of here, bud. Dad, you got to deal with these idiots. You created them. You stuck with them. Yeah, no, okay, I'll be nice. I don't know. I don't know nothing about religion. No, never practiced any religions. No, never was any in religion. Never was Catholic or Baptist or any of that stuff. Or my wife wasn't even Pentecostal. None of that stuff. Yes, or some of the other religions like the arts. So to answer that question, I will answer that for you. One of the things we look for, if you've got like an interest in the paranormal or dragons or weird sci-fi, just in general, you can't help yourself. You have the need to look into stuff that you know you shouldn't be looking into. You've probably been taken. It's a good chance. No, it's not just that. I mean, if you go to the website, I think there's 60 questions on there, but if don't be popping stuff up like that. Anyway, it's a good chance that you know if you're in that category, you've probably been taken. Well, just because you believe in alien, I mean, just because you have a paranormal experience doesn't necessarily mean it, but the fact that you have a need to investigate it. So most people usually start out in some types of religions. They'll usually work to 2 or 3 religions before they realize what they're looking for is not there, even though they really don't know what they're looking for. So then they'll go, you might get into dragons or, you know, different things like that. And then they might get into the paranormal because they're looking for something specific. Usually they'll end up in some kind of magic, doing some type of magic because they have gifts and they don't understand them. So using rituals through magic sometimes helps people control their gifts a little better, even though magic isn't in the aspect of what we're thinking about. Or what do you mean, is it real? Yeah, it's real in some aspects, but we're not getting into tonight. We'll do another show on that. But for humans, we need crutches, sticks. We need something to help us make that next step when you have a gift. Well, generally, when you get along in your life, you'll start realizing that you do have these gifts, and you'll start hearing about people who have these gifts on a regular basis and who are actually contactees and have a handling experience. And you'll find out that a lot of what you consider to be poltergeist activity or things like that are actually extraterrestrial experiences. I know a lot of y'all seen Close Encounters of the Third Kind. You see all the shit going crazy in the room. So if you were a paranormal investigator, you would say that was a poltergeist, wouldn't you? Yes, you would. Don't try to lie your way out. You know damn good well you'd say it was a poltergeist. But in this case, it was an extraterrestrial experience. It doesn't mean all poltergeists are extraterrestrial experience, but it does mean a lot of them could be. So a lot of times it's like misdiagnosing something. These people are having these experiences and they're thinking, oh, it's some demon or some ghost. And it's really not. It's actually a gray screwing around or a reptilian screwing around. Well, some of their equipment makes stuff go haywire. I noticed as our technology gets more advanced, it doesn't happen as often now. I don't know why. I guess older toys and older electronics were easier to mess with than newer ones. Like your phone, your phone's case now. It's not quite as easy to get into these as it used to be. Like your dial-up phone that used to sit on the side, but there was no protection for that. You know, the back end was opened and stuff. But these aren't. These are actually this phone right here can actually resist an EMP up to, I think, 5 6 megs. I forgot what they said, but yes, a nuclear war. I can be dialing y'all. The nuke's coming. Wouldn't matter because I'll be dust afterwards, but still. My phone will work though. See how that works out? some native 1,000 years like, oh look, we got a phone. So sorry, I'll behave. But it's just one of those things that's part of it, and people get lost in these places trying to find. They have this need inside of them that's just dragging their ass along. Sean has, he just don't realize it yet. It's just he does realize, but he's still working it out in his head. It just drags you along. It's like, you don't want to be doing this. You know you want to stop. You got other things you want to do. You got other things you want to spend your money on. But for some reason, it just keeps cropping up. You know, it's popping in the back of your head, or you're hearing something. You're like, well, wait, where'd that come from? And then you got to stop and you got to listen to it. And, you know, he's busy like I am. He's got a life. He's writing. He's an author and stuff. He's got a lot of stuff going on. So sometimes you don't want to have to stop in the middle of something because you heard something or seen. And then I have so many things set on my computer to send shit to me that I'll be just paying. Like yesterday, I was paying bills and I'm getting stories popping up about aliens on my computer. And then I got to stop. I got to read. I got to stop. I got to read. I was like, no, Joe, just finish what you're doing. Get off the damn computer. Well, people, it does it. It's So for contactees or abductees, I should say, it's different. Anybody who finds yourself with a thirst for this or being drugged through this is definitely an abductee. They just haven't learned it or found out. And you got to remember, 98% of everybody who's taken will never know, ever. Unless they just start having these dreams or awakenings, they'll just never know. But some people, what happens is something. It could be anything. They did something on board one of the ships one time that the Gray looked over, or the reptilian looked over and said, well, wait, shit, they might be useful. Let's give them a little information, see what happens. And the next thing you know, you're just nonstop. And then somewhere along the line, you become aware of what's been happening to you. And that's when you become a contactee. Yes. You're not a contactee people until you're aware that the experience is actually happening to you. And then you are. And then when that happens, if you're a bright one, you will start getting downloads and downloads. And what's weird about downloads, they don't always activate at the same time. And they don't necessarily activate when they download either. Sometimes you'll know that something's being downloaded into your head. You'll know, you can feel the information, but it's not quite accessible. And then one day you just be bebopping along and then bam, it's like just a whole file just opens up in your head and you're like, shh, what the? It's a rough way to live, but it's something that contactees deal with. And remember this, contactees have advantages over everybody else. Once you know you are, then you also know you're empathic and telepathic. You're definitely empathic, and a lot of them are telepathic. So say like I have to do bids for contracts. So when I go to talk to a customer, I'm trying to feel out how much money can I get from this customer. So I start out with this kind of bid and I say, okay. And when I walk in, I'm holding it in my hand, and I'm talking to the customer. And then I realize 10 minutes into the conversation that I can bump this 10, 20, 30, 40, 50%. And it makes me a lot more money. Also, sometimes I know that I'll hear the customer and I'll look down at the bid and go, you know what? This bid's not going to fly. It's too much. Well, yeah, you can call it that, but for me, it's not. I know what it is. Well, you can call it intuition if you want, but it's more than that. It's, I can just feel them coming off. It's almost like I'm listening to it in their head. And to help y'all out with this, I come from a family that's very empathic and telepathic. So some days everybody gets on the same effing wavelength, and you'll hear stuff like, so the other night I'll go to tell my wife, I said, I need some, and then I hear my daughter in there popping popcorn. I was just getting ready to tell her to go make some popcorn. And I'm like, what? Or we'll be driving and they're answering my questions before they're actually being answered, which, by the way, is irritating, just so y'all know that. You damn people. It is. I mean, it does prove that it's real, but it also is irritating because you're like, can I speak now? Can I have something to say? Nope. But it happens in a lot of families. You'll see a lot of families, like mom will go, she'll tell you who's on the phone when it rings or who's at the door when they're knocking on the door. A lot of times you'll see your kid, you'll know what your kid wants before the kid says anything. And fathers and mothers, especially with kids, they zoom in on them. So for a contactee family, because the whole family is, I mean, the husband or wife doesn't necessarily both have to be, but these days it's almost a given that they're both abductees. You tend to lock in on your kid. You'll know what's going on with your kid anywhere. And so kind of a downside for abductees and contactees, because your kid's at school and he's just whatever, feeling rough or having a bad day. You sense that shit. And then until you realize what it is, it's just in your head and you're like, what? Why do I feel like this? And especially if you've been feeling good and there's nothing wrong in your life, and all of a sudden you're just kind of like, why do I feel like this? Because you're feeling someone else. Empath can be a rough thing in general. It can be a good thing, but it can be a rough thing because sensing other people's emotions and feelings is not always what it's cracked up to be. Mm-hmm. Sean knows. He's been sensing them lately. He's just kind of wondering what the hell. It's always bad when your wife knows what you're thinking before you do, though. And just tell you. Guys. Well, because guys,
I always thought that was normal. You could just look at her face and you kind of know. You're in trouble.
Well, that's true too. I know that feeling myself. Oh, okay, baby, I'm leaving now. I'm going outside. I'll see you later. What you got for us, Denise? Where are you from, Denise? Eureka, California. I've never been to Eureka, California. I have heard of it a few times. Way up there in the north. Where is it? Way at the north by the coast, right?
It's a beautiful place. It's really nice up there. But they have like tidal wave warnings all over the place.
That's how I'm gonna go in there. Screw that.
I'm serious. There's signs everywhere, like tidal wave warning.
What do you mean? No, I don't think that's where the TV show Eureka was filmed. Now, I think that was just a studio in LA. To be honest with you, I don't know for 100%, but I'm pretty sure it just got that sense of it could have been a real town. They use real towns for stuff all the time. The Librarian. What do you mean? Oh, the TV series, The Librarian. Okay, what about it? I'm sure there's aliens in there somewhere. Yes. I would bet somewhere in one of those series there's aliens. I'm just saying. There's probably a lot of ancient stuff in there too. So what's your wait, where'd that question go? Oh, wait a minute. So you want Sean and I to go break into Area 53 and first off, we just told you the tall whites don't even like people. Much less the government breaking into one of your top Sean, I'm gonna watch as you do this, man. I'm gonna have the binoculars.
Yeah. I'm not going in there. I'm not even sending a rat with a camera on its back in there.
What's that, Christopher? Yeah, I'm sacrificing. I'm sending his ass. Well, be honest, guys. There's several secret bases out there. I mean, Area 51 was the one that got broadcasted the most because of some of the stuff that happened out there. But there's Area 53, there's Area 52, there's Area 54. There's like 10 of them. And they're all connected and they all have bases on them. And a lot of them, we have no idea what's going on out there because nobody knows what they are. Do y'all know how far Area 51 goes down? I got an idea. I seen a map of it one time. I got to shut up before I get shot, but it goes down a long ways. More than 2 or 3 floors down, I can tell you that. More than 50. It goes way to hell down there. Ain't no nuclear bomb taking it out. Not unless it hits it down in one of them bunker busters, maybe. I don't know what's down there, and I want to find out. Oh, so Raymond wants to know, do we believe in the Dulce extraterrestrials? You mean the ones that were shooting each other?
Yeah, that's the Phil Schneider. What's the Phil Schneider story, right?
First, I don't know why Gray would be using a gun to start off with. Gray just think of you and your head would explode. I'm being honest, people. I mean, the first time I heard this story, I was kind of like, okay, so they're shooting at the Grays. All the Gray had to do was just think, and everybody standing there would have been dead. The humans and reptilians are scared of them for some reason. I think that's why. I think they're they knock people out with thought. They don't have to use a device to put you on. They're just thinking you're out. Yeah, I'm not. I don't know. I have a hard time with that one just because the Grays are very advanced. Oh, you mean with the base? No, I don't have a problem with the base. They got bases all over the place. Go ahead, Sean. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think Phil Schneider was like a geological engineer and may have helped build that base, blow holes into the ground, or so he claims, right? But the other thing about Phil Schneider is he used to collect radioactive rocks, and he would sleep on top of radioactive rocks, and he would give them out to people at conferences. So if you ever been to a conference and Phil Schneider gave you a rock, you might want to get
it checked. Give it to somebody you don't like.
You might want to run a Geiger counter by that mofo and to get checked out.
Well, I mean, I just because the first time I heard the story, it was like bunches of them. I'm like, wait, what's going on? I said the Grays would have just zapped their asses.
You want to tell the story? I mean, it's a fascinating story. It's
you can tell. I'm
a good
coffee.
Science fiction story.
Your voice is good tonight. I'm just going to drink coffee.
All right. So he claims that there was this base had 7 levels, and it gets really intricate, and that the U.S. government had a treaty with the Grays, and the Grays started, doing some stuff they shouldn't have been doing. So they sent down a bunch of Green Berets. First of all, that's another problem with this story is that that's not a Green Beret mission. That would be Delta or something. Yeah. Anyway, that's not or PJs, something like that, right? It's associated with the Air Force. But anyway, that's just suspension of disbelief. So he sent down about 29 special forces, and they get into a firefight with the Grays. And the Grays, they don't have weapons, but they have this circular energy field on their chests that they shoot at these things. Well, Phil Schneider's down there for some reason. He pulls out I don't know if it's a Luger or a revolver or a 9mm, probably a 9mm. Takes a shot. What's that?
I said it was probably a 9mm Luger.
Oh yeah, maybe. Anyway, he shoots one of the Greys, and this thing gets a shot off at him, and he gets injured and he loses some fingers. At least that's the story behind. If you ever saw Phil Schneider, he's missing a few fingers.
Yeah, missing a couple. I think I've seen him a couple of
times. And then one of the Green Berets rescues him, gets him into this elevator, and it goes up, and then the Green Beret sacrifices his life to save Phil Schneider. So that's the story. There's no way to verify if it's true or not, but given that the guy slept on radioactive rocks, I don't know. I would be hesitant to take it with
a grain of salt, people.
Yeah, take it with a grain of salt. I'm not saying it's not true, but I wouldn't bet my reputation or my life on it being true.
Make in this case, make your own decisions.
Yeah, that's right.
What do you mean? Do I think it's true? I never thought it was true, but it was different for me because I have a more intricate understanding of the Greys than most people do. I've been really, I don't know if I'd call it lucky. I'm going to tell y'all something, guys. I remember just almost 40 years ago. I remember first time I met a contactee who was telling me some of the stuff that actually happened and the stuff between say age, as soon as you could hit puberty to about age 28, that's when all the aliens, if there's anything they're going to do that you're not going to like, that's when it's going to happen. And I remember her telling me this, and I didn't sleep for like 6 weeks. I was thinking, Jesus Christ, why would anything do this? And then I remember a couple of months later, her mom came to see me, and we were talking. And by the way, I didn't believe in this at the time. And she was telling me, she said, no, it's just these age groups and it's puberty thing. This is when they do the breeding experiments. And so it fascinated me. And then for the next like 6 months, I'm not kidding y'all, a person a day who had a contact was coming to talk to me. I wasn't even in the field yet. I was at work. I had 4 or 5 people come up in a course of 4 or 5. And then I got to thinking, what the hell? It's like something or someone or something is directing people at me. And I couldn't understand why. And then a good friend of mine who was, she's a politician, very wealthy woman, very nice family, very good looking, comes out of the blue. I'm sitting there having lunch. And she said, Joe, I got to tell you something. Then I'm like, okay. She said, I think these little gray aliens have been taking me. And I'm not shitting you. I fell off the bench. I was stuttering. I didn't know what to say because I was thinking, first off, why did she tell me? I mean, I know she'd been knowing me since I was a kid, but still, why tell me this? It freaked me out. And then a couple of weeks after that, another person that was an impeccable, anything that came out their mouth, you would believe. And they told me the same thing. And almost an identical story. I was just flipping. I said, okay. So I joined MUFON. First mistake. I worked for MUFON for a while. I met Walt Anderson, a great guy. I remember the first time Linda met him, she was crying. And that's we did a lot of work with him. And then all of a sudden, for some reason, anything you sent into MUFON just disappeared. You couldn't get it. You couldn't find it. It was like the black hole of Calcutta. So I did one final abduction thing with them because they didn't like me doing abduction stuff. I got with some friends of mine, some friends of mine in Europe, and we found about 5,000 cases, and we started our first abduction criteria. And that's where we started going from that point forward. Was from there. that was my first real foray into it. And then after that, it just seemed like shit just started happening. It was just I couldn't stop because every time I'd park it, something else would happen, or somebody would come up, and then ICAR got founded out of a chat group of all places. It just boom. One day it went from UFO Alien Nama chat with a bunch of us just chatting and hanging out, about 300 of us, to an alien abduction organization. It was kind of like what the bleep.
Yeah, that's the thing about MUFON. I've talked to another investigator. I'm not going to out him on the air, but
no.
He said that sometimes they would have cases and he would read the case and then he would come back to check later on and it would be gone.
It'd be gone.
Vanished. So,
and then I got in trouble a couple of times for busting them. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I think one potential theory behind that is you have, those sorts of organizations are not compromised, but there are people who are
They're compromised.
Represent the government who are, involved, and they'll make those cases disappear.
Walt left. When Walt left, John Schluchler took over, and John's a nice guy, but John is Black Ops. All he ever did his whole life was Black Ops for the government. So you knew when he took over, he's an insider with the government. Anything they wanted, they were just going to go through him. And it just started just bam, bam, bam. And then Lynn and I reported an experience that happened to us that lasted about 11 days. So we sent it to him. Didn't hear anything for 2 years. Now, remember, I was still a director at the time. And I was like, okay, well, I guess they're not interested. They don't want to look at it. Because really, to be honest with you, MUFON's always been about chasing lights in the sky. And really, even today, they say they have their star team, but they don't really know what we know about alien abduction. So they still really are about chasing lights in the sky. But we just kept getting report after report. And then it tells you how bad it got. People like Paola Harris were getting mad at me, Richard Dolan, because I was talking about, we're going back over 25 years now, but because I dared to talk about alien abduction on the air when they were around. Biella quit talking to me for a whole year. If I wouldn't have seen her, matter of fact, if I wouldn't have seen her at the 60th anniversary at Roswell, she probably still wouldn't be talking to me. And she barely talks to me now because I talk about alien abductions. Now, even though she does, now this is a woman who did not believe in this, except for even though she was friends with John Mack, which just floored me. She never wanted to talk about it. Now she runs the Star whatever conference where they talk about alien abductions. Matter of fact, I attended her first one, which was the all women's conference in Stevensville, Texas. And just Stevensville and the Cash Landry cases just shows you what MUFON really is. So I had heard about this case. My directors heard about it, but we weren't really chasing UFOs. We really just chase alien abductions and contactees and stuff like that. And when UFOs involved, like when they have a sighting, then we're interested in it. So I had no contactees that had told me anything about Stevensville. So she asked me to come up to the conference. I said, cool, I'll fly up. And we drove up to Texas, picked up some friends along the way. Two of my directors, one of my state directors and assistant state directors in Texas. And I picked them up. We get up there. Nice place. You got a nuclear power plant there, by the way. So I said, maybe the aliens were interested in that. So we go have dinner and we're sitting. And they said, we're going to have we're going to tell the story on the hill where it happened. I said, cool. We have some beer or fire. I said, that's cool. Let's go. So we go up there. We're sitting there, and Joe Renard, I give Joe a camera. For some reason, this guy is like, he's invisible. No one ever pays attention to him. I love Joe because he just walks around filming, and everybody's just chatting away. He's done this for several times for me.
He's a gray man.
Yeah, he is. I mean, it's just like, so anyway, we're sitting there talking, and I'm talking to the witnesses, and the guy's telling me about this triangle-shaped ship, because it's got like a rounded nose, and it flares back, and it gets wider as it goes back, and it's kind of thick. And he's describing it to me. So then he says, and it's got plates on it that are riveted. I said, whoa, wait, rivets? Wait, what do you mean rivets? And he said, rivets. And I'm like, I mean, like rivets like you see on a ship rivets? He said, yeah. I said, okay, right off the bat, boom, I knew this wasn't alien anymore. Now, MUFON should have known that the very first time they heard this conversation. Then, so he's telling me about it. He said, well, and then two chase planes show up, and they get on each side of him. He said, this thing is moving along. He said, then all of a sudden you see the engines were red. There was a row of 8 and a row of 8. So it was 16 of these little square blocks. He said it made a little noise, and then they went from red to white, and then the son of a bitchin' thing was gone. I had heard this a dozen times. A good friend of mine who's in charge of the scientists at Boeing on the in California, on the west side of California by the deserts, where they do a lot of their pylon testing. So she had told me about stuff like this, and we both got good clearances. So I called her while I was there in Stevensville and said, sweetie, let me ask you some questions. And she goes, well, you hear this guy come on. He says, I tell him my name. He runs my clearance. He said, all right, whatever. And then we start talking, and I tell her what I'm seeing. And she said, oh, no, it's the Aurora too. She said, yeah, they aimed it at George Bush's, and it's going to take a hard left, and it came back around. I said, yeah, I was wondering, because it was aimed at George Bush's, and there was a flight of F-16s in the air that night, but they didn't scramble. So they obviously knew what it was. So I was so disappointed. I called John Schlusler. Oh no, it wasn't John. Who was it? It was Carrion, I think it was. Anyway, I called him up and said, "What the bleed, man?" It's Joe. He said, I have nothing to do with that case. He said, I told him that case stank from day one, and they just went ahead and posted it anyway. And so I started rebutting the case, and then a bunch of people got mad at me. And then Ken Cherry, who was a director for Texas from MUFON, jumped in on it because he realized I was right, and they fired his ass. I was like, come on, man. I said, y'all are busted in a lie, and you're going to fire. So and then I ended up busting him on the Ed Walters case. I think that's one of the reasons I got in trouble with him, because I busted him with Ed Walters. This was the very first time I ever busted MUFON was with Ed Walters. Because they were making some outlandish statements, and they tried to say, "Oh, this kid went in the guy's house. He sold his house. Somebody had been living in his house for 3 years. Some kid went in the attic 3 years after the house and found a replica UFO of the one he saw on the road, made out of paper mache." I'm like, so nobody went in that attic for the first 3 years? Get the shit out of here. You know you're going in the attic, man. Come on, give me a break. I was like, give me a damn break. And then the kid started saying all these other things. And I said, well, you know what? I'm going to drive down there. I'm going to polygraph the kid. I said, I'm going to voice stress the kid and see. Ooh, no, he hauled ass. No one's seen or heard from him again.
Yeah.
Well, I think sounds about right. That story. But you get those kind of things. See, the more you get into this, the more you'll have to deal with stupidity like that.
Well, I don't know if it was stupidity. I think.
No, I mean, you'll have to deal with it is what I mean. Not you.
Oh, yeah. Because, I mean, if that was the, like, a part of the Aurora 2 project, right, then it would serve the government to have people think it's a UFO.
It would. And
right.
I gotta say, over the years, I've stumbled across a few of these cases and I've cleared them up. And somebody says, well, you don't chase lights in the sky. Jeff said, yeah, but I'm the only one with a pedigree in the field. He's like, what do you mean? I said, I have advanced avionics and electronics with aircraft recognition from being on the USS Nimitz. He's like, oh, that's right. I said, yeah. So I'm the only one qualified in the whole damn field to look up at the sky and say, oh, no, that's not a plane. That's a damn something else. Because it's true. Nobody else in the field has that kind of background. So far, I haven't met anybody with that kind of background. And I worked on some of the most advanced aircraft we've ever had. And the thing about it is you can tell a difference. They just perform differently. The things in the sky, even today, the only thing that even comes close to like the Foo Fighters back in the day are the new drones, because they can tumble, they can flip, they can roll over, they can do loop to loops, but they can't move at the speeds those ones moved back then. So you had things that would move back then. The pilots would say they were there, they would disappear, they were back, they were doing loop to loops around a class. They'd go, come back, go to the other one, right over. No. Our drones can do those maneuvers, but they can't do those kind of speeds yet. So we're moving. Our technologies are growing, and we're learning every day. The drone was a serious invention for us. But and think about it. It was a toy before it was a weapon. Usually they're weapons before they're toys. And the guy who invented, programs that make them all go together, he did that so he could do New Year's and Halloween, in different shows. Of course, now the U.S. government took it and said, we're going to make it a little more advanced and nobody can have this version but us. I was like,
and it's cheap. It's cheap. You don't have to, like when let's say China does something with Taiwan, they have all these cheap missiles, and we have a $20 billion aircraft carrier with $100 to $150 million F-35 aircraft, right? That's not the way to fight that sort of a threat. The way to fight that sort of threat is to have thousands of drones that, go take out the missiles, and it's a lot cheaper and it's a lot more effective.
Since you said that, I'm going to bring this up. Y'all will hear about this in probably a couple months. It'll be the U.S. Navy is building a drone carrier. Made just for drones and nothing else. Now, from what I understand about this, it's going to have several different sizes, from what they call tabletop drones to drones the size of jets. So the Navy just ordered these new drones that are not quite, they're F-35s without cockpits is what they are. That's basically what they are. So the pilot of the F-35 controls both drones, and they can be used in a three-way attack. Actually, what they want to do is what they call the star configuration, which is to pilot a drone, the pilot jet in the middle, a drone on top, a drone on bottom, drone on left, a drone on right. That way, as they're twisted and going nothing, you're not going to ever lose your pilot, because the other ones will sacrifice themselves first. And they can go from being controlled to the pilot to AI just by a flip of a switch. and told what to do. So Navy's getting serious about this because they have to protect them big ass carriers they built. I mean, when we were building the Gerald Ford and the Washington, we never really took in consideration for drones because they didn't really exist. Now we do. Now we got to take in consideration. No, Jack, we didn't take a break because we've been zipping through time. We got only what is it? We got about only about 11 minutes left. Yeah. Well, no, we just said that. Did UFOs? No, I'm gonna have to have Sean come guest host with me sometimes on UFO Undercover. No, he's got a lot of knowledge. We get it all worked in his head. His wife will say, "Have you become a UFO junkie?" Oh, I'm gonna tell you something about this. If y'all gonna get me in trouble. If I could get all the money I spent on this field back, not only because I retire, I could retire nicely. Oh yeah, we're not even going there because the boss might hear it, and I'll be living in a house downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying,
doghouse, sleeping in the doghouse.
Yeah, and I got dogs only this big too, so it'll be rough. No, he writes. So, oh man, I was thinking about you today because I saw where was it? Weird World. What was a movie I saw, and I was like, wait, Sean didn't tell me he had a movie out, but it was almost
a movie.
Yeah, Weird World War. Oh, what the hell? I think it was just weird. Damn it, I'm tongue tied. I think it was just weird. Now I can't get it out of my mouth. Weird World War, I think is what it was. I remembered seeing it because when I heard it, it caught my attention because I thought about you instantly. Some bitch never told me about a movie. Wait till I talk to him. And then it's like I don't know if it's a TV series. I think it's just a movie, like a one timer. And I'm not even sure if it's a good movie, but I just heard it when it was on Roku somewhere. So you might look it up.
Did it just come out?
I don't know. That's why it caught my attention. But I was in the middle of something when I heard it, so I couldn't stop what I was doing. Oh no, Frank! If y'all find it, send it to us. Yeah,
because I need to get some royalties on that, Joe.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We need to talk about it. And as soon as I heard it, man, I was like, shit, I got to talk to Sean about this. No, I brought it up on air because that way y'all might stumble across it or something. Honestly, I was right smack in the middle of something when I heard it. But when they said the title, that's what made me look around. I said, well, Sean didn't tell me one of his things had been made into a movie. So I turned around and looked, and then when it popped, I think, you know what I think we were watching? I think we were on YouTube watching movies or shit to come or something. I'll have to ask Linda which one it was, but what is that, Reese? No, we're gonna reel him in slowly but surely. No, just y'all stop, man. Y'all leave the poor man alone. Yeah, he's got 3 wives and 12 kids. Y'all didn't know that? I thought I said that on the last show. Well, he don't need another wife. 3 wives and 12 kids. What the hell? That means he's going to have like I live in a
compound in Nevada.
Next thing we know, he's going to be changing his name to. Never mind, we're not going there. I might come shoot both of us. Okay, real quick, and we'll both do this because we got a little time. So, you've watched some of the hearings, right, on the Capitol Hill?
Yeah.
So, because we got a couple of questions came in. What did we think about the different witnesses? Now, I haven't seen all the witnesses. I've seen about 7 people so far. That are calling on, and then I've also heard a couple of the legislators just talk, and then the people I've met personally. It's I don't like Greer's guy. I'm not gonna lie. Everybody else I've been fairly okay with, except they brought the skull the other day. So I'm looking at the skull. So I got this skull right here. This is a replica of the Star Child skull. That's what that is. So it's and I met. Oh God, I forgot his name. How can I forget his name? We were good friends too. He died of cancer. Damn. Anyway, he was the guy who had control of the Star Child skull until he died, and then the people who gave it to him took it back. So that one actually had legitimate. You could trace it all the way back to where it was found. So, and we do now know that not all the DNA was human. What that means is anybody's best guess. Okay. There was a lot of flack when they did the first DNA test, and they found out that the mom was 100% human because it was found. So it was roughly about this tall. It was found, and look at the size of the head. It was found with the mother, but the child, his DNA was the father was something else. That's what they said. It could have been some kind of mutation. They didn't want to say alien, but it was not a normal human that created the baby. So they went as far as saying that. And then it was tested a few times after that, and then it was found, other things were found. But never anybody came right out and said that it was alien, even though it kind of sure the hell looked like one. And it kind of looked like, and it was also found in an area where we know that certain tribes back then worshiped the Greys. So if you go through South America, it's weird. You can see where the reptilians had influence. It's not that hard to see. You can see where the Greys had influence. You can also see where the humans had influence. So all three of the major species that abduct on this planet all had influence in South America. It also makes me wonder why that South America and Central America is 98% or 95% O blood. Yeah, there's no real mix down there. It's 95% O. Very strange. It also helps me wonder why that when they came across the land bridge, everybody went to South America and nobody went into America. Because don't forget, Mesoamerica is older than Native America. Yes, people. Why is that? Why don't we just come out? Why don't we just walk along the Gulf Coast or something? You got to wonder. I mean, everybody came across the land bridge and just followed the coast all the way down, but that's not true, because once they got into like Mexico, they kind of fanned out and went all scattered all the way down. And then the Toltecs came around, the Aztecs came around, the Mayans came around, the Incans came around. These were fairly advanced civilizations. But there was nothing like that in America. Yeah, no, in North America, there was nothing like that. No, my friends, it was okay. Pueblo, that might be the closest. The ones who built their homes in the side of the mountain, that might be the closest.
Oh yeah, Chaco Canyon. There's some weird stuff there. There's some weird stuff.
Yeah, there is, and there was also a conquistador's helmet found there as well.
Yes. Well, there was a group of remote viewers from the Defense Intelligence Agency. So, and I could tell you at least two of their names, actually three. So it was David Morehouse, Mel Riley, and why am I blanking on the third one? Ed Dames was the third one.
Yeah, he was a leader. Ed Dames was. Him and I did several interviews together. I met him on Coast to Coast is where I met him. And the first guy you talked about, I met actually at a conference. And I think it was actually, where were we? We were in Ozarks is where we were. And he was interesting. See, because I had an interest in, I was always a little put off by remote viewing, but I always had an interest in it because when I remember the first time I was talking with Ed Dames, we were on Coast to Coast. I'd just been a guest on Coast, my first appearance, and I called in on his show, and George Noy brought me in. And he said, "Okay, well, I like Joe. We're going to talk, and I'm sure Joe's going to have some hard ass questions for you." Which, of course, Joe had some hard ass questions for him, and he was. By the way, Ed was polite, didn't get put off by it, answered the question to his best knowledge without ever trying to bullshit me, which I really appreciated, by the way. And after that, we kind of became, we got to know each other a couple of times over the years. But after talking to him, I realized that it was very limited in what it could do. So in other words, they could find the ballistic missile, but they couldn't tell you what the code on the ballistic missile was. And that's why people that we went to telepathy instead of remote viewing, because with telepathy, you can also find the missile, but you can also look through the guy's eyes and find the code. So that was a little bit different for us. Now, who's on the other end blocking? I don't know if Russia has enough people to even block a lot of telepaths anymore. America's quite a bigger country, or a much healthier country. We're more advanced in a lot of ways, but not just in technology. Believe it or not, a lot of Americans believe in telepathy. More than half did. If you listen to CNN, NBC, you would never believe that. But if you get out and do the polls, you'll find out that more than half America believes in telepathy, and mainly because a lot of people have experienced some kind of deja vu or something else along the line. Well, telepathy is like anything, people. It's in layers. I mean, you could barely have a sense, or you could be quite strong. And I guess it has more to do with how you were raised as a child and how you let yourself open up to things. Well, because adults are told, no, bad, you should, bad. Sean, you're a telepath. No, Sean, you're crazy. So that's the kind of shit that happens. I think all of them should put to use. I think everything America has, from remote viewing to telepathy to anything else we have, should be being put to use. Oh, yes. I'm a firm believer in protect my country and my family. no, I don't think we should go around blowing shit up. Sorry. Well, you know.
That's how you can prevent it from blowing up.
We got time for one more question. No, I see his wife back there. Like, get the hell off of the computer. Look, she's about to wacky, man. She's got the stealth. You know, what is that one on stealth? Oh, what was that stupid movie? Galaxy Quest? No, not Galaxy Quest. Is that what it was? Anyway, the Mokhtar stealth chant. There we go. Tim Allen was a captain. I can't remember the name of it. Yeah.
Yes, I think it's Galaxy Quest. Yeah.
Yes. It was a dumb movie, people. Don't ever take it as real. It was just dumb. It was funny, but it was dumb. You got to be bored to watch it, but you do it. We'll do that question and we'll go. So, where are you from? So, Randy, he is writing in from Ohio. You're not going to tell us what city in Ohio? Well, you don't have to. He was wanting you to estimate. He said he ain't bringing me into this. He said he's wanting you to estimate on how many underground facilities may or may not be. And he's not talking about just military. He said military plus, which means military and I guess really rich people like Elon, who has his own underground transit system. I don't know. But this is on you, Sean. Have fun. I'm drinking coffee, man.
I mean, there's thousands. You know, just look at like the Denver airport, right? Look at Cheyenne Mountain.
Oh, Jesus.
Area 51, right? There's all sorts of facilities underground. You know, I mean, even when I was at the National Training Center, I mean, these aren't extensive at all, but we built underground tunnels we literally would dig a hole and stick one of those cargo trailers underneath and then fill dirt over it and make sure there was air coming in. And they would use that to model tunnel systems fighting the Taliban. So, yeah, thousands, easy.
Yes, and what do you mean? Tell what story? Oh, man, we got to go. We out of time. I don't know if I can tell the story. It's speedy mode. Okay. Me and 3 guys were really, really, really drunk one night. I mean, I just got out of boot camp. I was in tech school in Millington, Tennessee. I was on a Navy base, a landlocked Navy base of all things. I'm in Millington, Tennessee, so we're drunk. We stumble into this field, and we got these humps all over the field, so we're drunk. We wanted to see the stars, so we're laying against this hump, looking at the stars when the hump goes and starts moving. It opens up, and about a half dozen MPs come walking out of it. I was like, oh, and we were actually, I didn't know they had silos there. And we didn't see no big signs that said, don't come in here. Well, needless to say, they brought us underground. Yes. So when we got down there, these were connected silos. So and this was quite a ways down, by the way. It took us about 3 or 4 minutes to get to the bottom of the ladder. So I'm figuring 3 stories for maybe 5 stories. So we get down there and we're walking along this tunnel. And then we get to this one and they're crisscrossing. And man, you could look in any direction and not see the end of this damn thing. And I still remember this. And then they fed us hamburgers, sobered us up, and brought us back through another tunnel. Brought us back, and we ended up in the middle of the Navy base. And they said, okay, you know what this means, right? And I said, yeah, we're never saying another effing word as long as we live. That's what it means. We had to go in front of the captain because we were drunk. But and he told us, he said, you know, if you ever say anything, they're going to lock you underneath a jail somewhere. And I remember when they declassified it so we could talk about it. But we'd see people, you just never know. That's what I'm saying. You never know. But anyway, Sean, tell them where they can find you. Tell them what books you got out because we got to get out of here. No, we already want to talk about aliens.
Yeah, if you're watching, you can see my YouTube channel, Through a Glass Darkly with Sean. You can just type that in through the search, find it. You can find my website at www.seanpatrickhazlett.com. And then I have a new book coming out called Weird World War China. You can pre-order it right now, and it's a bunch of short stories about a world war with China under weird, supernatural, or science fictional circumstances. So, and you can get that anywhere books are sold, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, etc.
Yeah, I got that, guys? Hold on, I got to get a picture of us now. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, we do take these like this now. Oh, wait, why did it do that? Oh, we're going to have to do this a different way. Hold on. Yeah, just send that to some strange person. We don't know who's watching. So we just send a picture to somebody. Well, I got that picture. Consider yourself lucky. 2 handsome guys on your thing. Okay, there we go. Well, Jackie, we got to go, but no, we're talking about Sean, about getting him on the network. I got a matter of fact, when I talked to Michelle tonight, I got to remember to finish talking with her about that. And then We'll see from there. No, he seems to know a lot of stuff about a lot of things. Oh, yeah, he'd be talking all night if I wasn't around. Yeah. Stephanie, behave yourself. It's
oh boy, I don't even want to ask. I don't even want to ask what that was.
You don't trust me. You don't want to answer that. No, we got to go. What is this question of earth shattering? Come on, you got like 30 seconds. Spit it out. We're already running into somebody else's time. Spit. Why do aliens come to Earth? You really serious? Want me to answer either one of us to answer that question? And it's impossible. No. That you should have answered at the beginning of the show. We could have spent half the show.
Yeah, that would have been the whole show, Joe.
I know. Come on. No, I'm serious. Next time he's back with us, or if he's hosting on his own show, I'll come join him one night, and we'll talk about it. Why not? Anyway, guys, we gotta go. No, we gotta go because Stephanie, you know how the boss lady is. She's mean, man. Yes. Why do you think she's the boss? I don't want no wimpy boss. Do you know how many egos are on this network? And mine ain't even the biggest. That's the scary part. Really, that's the damn scary part. We got to go. I hope everybody enjoyed tonight. Welcome to UFO Undercover and United Public Radio and UFO Paranormal and TV. I hope y'all, and for everybody who watches on Roku, I see a couple people drop by and let me know they could see us on Roku tonight. I hope you enjoyed seeing our beautiful, lovely faces on Roku. I only get sexy like this for you Roku people, actually. Anyway, good night and see y'all Friday.